Hello, Warriors. Michael, Nikita, Shahab, Bran, Mary, AJ. How's everyone doing today? Hello, Ryan.
Watch it, Dale.
How are you? So day before CPI.
Yep.
Prep for it.
Everyone's waiting.
All right. I have a couple of ideas that I may do tomorrow after the CPI. Platinum has really led the way in the precious metals here. And I see potential for a 3 drive up here. You know, pretty classic, confirmed highs diverging, will diverge again. This is a 4-hour TF. And then something that Carly Gardner brought up last week. I'm looking for, oh yeah, I put it by the crude. And this may be something you want to take delivery on, Ryan, for all your neighbors and everything. And take delivery on nat gas down here.
Yeah,
buy it and
fill some balloons with it.
Yeah, better than helium. I don't want you floating away over the channel. Right, so something going on there that I think we're close, or one more stab, but to me looks like we're in a bottoming pattern here. And then with what happened in currencies, cable's still the weakness, but I look at it and it still could push higher, kind of looking like we're flagging here, and that we could make another push up towards 22 euro, just sideways. But there is also some pretty good divergence up here in gold. We'll see if we could take out the throw over. I'm not sure if this line is right, but back under, say, 1865 or under this prior low, it's not going to look so great. It could try it again. Silver, for the first time in a while, is outperforming, but pulled back from the 24 level. I still think this is going to be a magnet, this return line, and it is coming in at 2250. I think that's where Greg is going to front run Stell. And
yeah, I hate that guy.
And Blake made a great call here yesterday where he showed S&Ps testing this breakout out of this formation, and now we're challenging that 50% retrace level. So that's what I see going in. The dollar's trying to rally, but this formation just looks like a flag. I mean, it's hard for me to believe that this is the bottom. Maybe we're going to go test out this line again, which would be a shade under 102, 101 and a half. Anyway, tough call for me on the Dixie. Less tough. The only reason it makes me constructive about the Dixie was, we talked about the yen, and it's trying to carve out something higher low. So between the two, if I want to be long dollars, it would be US dollar yen. That's the way it looks to me. Yields had a nice pop yesterday. They're trying to give it back, but I think that would be a surprise. I was thinking about the CPI. Some people are saying might come in at 0.1, but I think the guesstimate is 0.3, which is bullish. And I don't know how it would happen, but we've had nothing but good news on the inflation front. It's almost like the surprise would be that it's not as great as expected. It could still be a good number, but not as great as some people thought. So, do you think that's a possibility, Brian?
Yeah, I think it is. Stell's been saying it a lot. We've been saying it on the Flow Show. We know which way the market's leaning. It's leaning like inflation is coming down. So the big surprise is going to be if it's higher than last month. The more neutral, like you say, is if it comes in between expectations and last month. So for headline CPI, if it comes in between 6.5 and 7.1, That's a bit more neutral, though, as you say. You know, if it only drops to 7%, that's going to upset the doves, if you like. And yeah, if it comes in, you know, much lower than expected, then all the pivoters are going to jump on again, aren't they?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's something to be aware of. Do you buy the case of a turn in yen? I'm conflicted because of this, you know, this last low we came out of was confirmed.
Yeah.
So, you know, the other option that I see is maybe something like this. If it does, they do get what they want. And yesterday was like a, you know, one-day wonder in yields, and the yields end up taking out 340. Maybe something like this for a 3 down here around 28.70 or so.
Yeah.
You have any numbers down there, or you, Kman, do you have any numbers down there in the yen
Let's have a quick
at new
look.
lows?
I'm sure Kay will
Good
have some
morning,
numbers.
Dale. Good morning, everybody.
Hey, man.
Yeah, I'm watching this 129.5, 130.5 as well, and then yeah, I do have it's what is it? This
61.
of
Yeah.
the move the move from 115 up to is somewhere around 128 or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, tomorrow is going to be, I think the yields and then the equity markets are going to be the big drivers, and then FX is likely going to react to it. We've spoken on the flow show about about my expectations, or at least the ranges I'm watching for the US 10s. If you really look at dollar yen. So it's like in the shorter run, 350, 365, and then wider 340, 3.75. Not sure, of course, depending on the number, if we are going to get outside of the range. But yeah, yesterday there was this Adobe or so tech CPI coming out, and that if it's still correlated to the overall CPI, because they seem to be using the same methodology to calculate the number. Tomorrow CPI should come off, but it's all about the magnitude, right? What's going to happen? Is it sticky a bit higher, or do we really get a lower one? So for now, I don't have many dollars in positions at all, to be honest. But I have been riding a little of the euro crosses, because they there's a few good things happening in euro, and it's first of all the differentials with the dollar yields are coming off. Secondly, the spreads between the peripherals in Europe is coming in as well. We're well below the 2% now, which is a bit of the risk on, risk off for the euro between Italian and German spreads. And then also have, you know, yesterday you were talking about, and Blake was talking about the DAX compared to other indices. I think there's a bit of a rebalancing or a reshift going on between European and other assets, and that is all a bit positive for the euro crosses right now. So I'm rather on that train, and but again, as usual, reducing when it goes up and then adding when it comes down. But I'll be traveling very light into tomorrow's number, because it could be getting a bit wild.
Yeah, you know, you make a great point that, you know, there used to be a saying, as the first week in January goes the first year. And I think one of the most glaring things about last week is the outperformance of almost every other bourse above the U.S. Happening in the, you know, like you say, in the DAX, happening in emerging markets. So, you know, even if we have bull runs in equities, it looks like the place to be is outside of the U.S.
Have a look at the FTSE, Dale.
Well, FTSE's almost at new all-time highs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're in a bit of this rebalancing phase right now, but for how long will it last? I don't know.
UKX, Dale.
UKX, okay. And if you use the old analogy that UK, isn't it? Where is it? Here we are. HSBC. Okay, I get it.
Click all. You were looking at stocks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Type in UKX again and click all on the top. There you go, all, and then UKX.
Oh,
there you go, top one.
Yeah, stick that on a weekly.
Yeah, that's new all-time highs. Okay, so maybe that's an omen for the U.S. I don't know. That's been happening all year. So yeah, it's interesting. Can you explain it? Why, with what's happening in the UK, their shares are outperforming the US?
Well, that's a moot point, because obviously a lot of international companies are in the FTSE 100. But some of the other UK indices are doing as well. The all share, the 250 is still lagging. That's more a reflection of the UK. But
the currency depreciating as well, right?
Yeah, that's helped it as well. But even that strengthening, and we're seeing it strengthening as well. So yeah, it's something we've been talking about, and I made a point in the Flow Show. One of our roomies put up a piece from Reuters saying that the TINA trade, there is no alternative.
Yeah,
could be shifting. And I think we're going to see a lot of that in this early part of the new year. Investors putting their money where yields are going to be the best yields, where economies are going to be the least impacted by possible recessions. No offense to our European cousins, but if you had to bet your money on a country in the Eurozone, you're likely to put your money in Germany over Spain or Italy or any of the others.
Or Greece, say it.
I wanted to be polite, but is Greece in the Eurozone? I can't
but
for now, yeah.
The Greek markets have been exploding too, haven't they? Still,
I don't know. I don't actually follow the Greek stock market, so I don't know.
Okay. What was it, olive oil futures? What's the Greek stock market?
That's Italy.
We talked about this on the Flow Show, and contrary to the past 10 or 15 years, bonds have now become an asset class that investors can actually look at, because we had negative yielding debt. Anything that was reasonable risk and not too risky was 0 or negative. You had junk bonds at 3% and 4%, which is absolutely ridiculous. So that asset class has now finally come back in the picture for now.
Yeah. All right. The big boys still don't look great. Microsoft doesn't look great. Holding, by a thread there, that's a weekly 200. So
there's so many things on the verge now, and it's
bifurcating.
It's hinging on tomorrow's number. I know we always say, "Oh, this is really important." Well, tomorrow is really, really important. I think it's the most important number of the month, and we're at the point where the markets are still playing chicken with the Fed, and they're trying to kind of force the Fed to pivot. And if we talked about this on the Flow Show this morning, if the number is weaker than expected, so lower inflation print than expected, which I think is the most likely scenario, then you get a reaction. If it's stronger than expected, then you get 3 times the reaction, I think. So the risk is for the market to act much more strongly in the case of a beat in inflation. Because if inflation doesn't drop, if the month-on-month CPI doesn't go to 0 or negative and it stays positive, and year on year it doesn't go down to 6.5, it goes maybe to 6, 7, I don't know, then that's gonna, it's not going to be, yes, the trend is lower, but I don't think it's fast enough yet for the Fed to turn around and say, right, we're going to be doing another 25, maybe 225s, and we're done. So that's a risk for me now. Having said all that, I think that very soon, probably March, I think we're going to start seeing really, really steep drops in the CPI. I still think so. I mean, we're already seeing drops in the CPI. We've gone down from what was it? What was the peak? 8.5%, 9% in the UK or the US, something like that, and we're now in the sixes. So 2-3 more months of this, or a couple of months more, and you're getting to positive real yields. It's and it's something that the Fed looks at.
It's a new world. Look at
exactly.
China. I mean, you have a double in BABA from mid-October, from the October lows we had here. Not many things doubled in the U.S.
Wow, yeah.
So, this has really been the rocket ship. It's been China. And then, of course, you have some copper stocks that have really been flying. There's the ETF, and Freeport looks just as good. Then copper just, keeps exploding. Here's Freeport, another rocket ship. So, and, a lot of it you could attribute to the reopening in China. So people are believing this reopening. They're not seeing that there might be some problems. I've read that people think the reopening euphoria is probably a bit, they're not taking into account the difficulties that happen with the reopening, especially with a country that really doesn't have good vaccines. But
I think you're spot on, Dale. There's a lot of the market who are looking past this COVID wave and saying that, and thinking that the China reopening or China, coming back online is going to be a boom for global growth, and they're going to help drag everyone else out of these recessions that we're potentially heading to. We have to see whether that happens, and B, is it a strong rebound, or is it just a bit of a reversal from the negativity they've seen? Are we going to see 9% growth in China ever again? Is that going to drag the rest of the world up outside of a short-term relief rally?
Yeah, and they're talking about supply chains getting better. Everything's getting better. So we'll see how the grains look. I haven't looked at them for a while. Beans still look okay. Wheat, corn looks okay. All right, so you have to look at some things that the Fed can't control. Crypto, I don't know what you guys think.
Dead in the water, isn't it?
What's that?
It's dead in the water, isn't it? This is probably one of the longest periods of doing nothing. It can't get it back above that, that 17, 18 line you've got there.
Right. Yeah.
It's looking like no one knows what to do with it. The buyers can't get it higher. The sellers can't get it lower. I don't know what breaks this. It'll be interesting when it does break. I think it's going to move bigly, but what causes the break, I don't know.
So I thought we might pull back to 87 in EG, but now it looks like we're ready to make a break for 90. The last 3 days kind of seal it. So that's looking great. So your preferred short, just like Kman saying, long euro against everything.
Yeah.
So that still seems to be the case here.
Well, we had some ECB, a couple of members speaking today, and both saying, it needs to be, we need to be hiking at a decent pace still. They're still talking hawkish. So you get central bank divergence. The ECB certainly against Bank of England, and eventually the Fed as well. Don't know how long this is going to last, but this is what we have at the moment. So, the euro dollar, I think, obviously depending on tomorrow's number, but let's say tomorrow's number comes in line. I think euro dollar is going higher. I think euro pound is going to hit 90. I've been saying 90 for a while, and we're almost there. Almost there.
One good day away.
Yes, sir.
So we could start eating into this wick.
Yeah, and look how close we are to all these previous highs on the daily in Europound, like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
We're almost taking them. And here, just end of 2022 and beginning of 2023, we have this. If we break that, we head to 90, and then who knows?
Okay. You think that's going to be maybe a shorting opportunity up here?
Definitely. But as long as there is this divergence, I'm not going to touch that.
Okay.
So,
So maybe we even take out the spike eventually.
That's a big call.
Old area. If you go up there, it's a big old area up there, 93s, 92s.
Yeah.
And I like your green line there because it coincides with the 50%, Blake, just above 89. Yeah, it coincides with the 50% of the spike high, the trust quarting high, back down to 85.5. I think the 50% is around that 89.12. I've got it at 12.13. I think that's the level of no return, and until then, euro sterling is range trading but beat.
Apple's trying to negate its breakdown under 130. That would help the market if that happens. So I think we've had a couple closes above it. This thing closed underneath, this closed above it. If that's the case, it could rally back to 140, which was the original breakdown. So keep an eye on Megacap tomorrow after the news and see if they perform.
When are their results coming out? Because their earnings season starts as well, right?
Yeah, we should start getting the banks coming
banks
in
first, yeah.
And the Russell is pretty clear. You know, if this is a breakout, you know, you're long, but you're wrong back under 77. So even the Russell's starting to look pretty good.
You guys heard Credit Suisse is cutting its bonus pool 50%. Some people are going to get zeros. I mean, I'm actually surprised that they have a bonus pool.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's happened this year?
The big surprise is that they still have any pool at all.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I was at Merrill and we were bought out by Bank of America. The bonus pool was small. Let's put it that way.
And well, the bonus pool at Coinbase is here's your pink slip. And they've cut 20% twice. So they've cut 40% of their workforce in the last several months. That's a pretty big cut. But the market liked the last job cut, and Coinbase rallied on that. So interesting, the market's starting to like companies that are trimming their employees, getting leaner and meaner.
The question is, we don't know what their structure was. I mean, look at Twitter. Elon Musk has fired, what is it, 80%? So a ridiculous number, right? And, it's still a fully functioning company. And, I mean, you can't know how much of that is really fat and how much is organic and, anyway, it's.
I read that Elon is now in the Guinness Book of Records for losing the most wealth in history. He overtook that crazy guy from SoftBank who lost, billions of dollars. But Elon is now the all-time biggest loser of giving back profits of his empire.
I'm sure he was the biggest winner at some point as well. So
yeah, I'd still like to be 10 quid behind him.
How much is a quid worth in U.S. currency?
Oh, it's worth $1.21.
Oh, a quid is like £1.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's not like £1. It is a pound.
It's very similar, right, Steve?
Yeah, well, don't look at
so similar that they're indistinguishable.
Yeah, I think
you can tell how international I am, right?
You should trade the correlation, Dale, between the quid and the pound.
It's almost perfect.
I hear there's a pretty tight spread between them. So.
Yeah, I'll make you a market.
No arbitrage opportunities there.
Yeah, I'll see you a pound for £1.10. I'll buy it off you for 90p.
All right, so Blake, you want to step in before the interview and say a few things about what you're thinking?
Blake is actually not feeling very well today, and he's not going to be here.
Okay,
so you're stuck with us.
Okay, well, I hope he feels
your
better.
Money's worth.
Does he have the flu? COVID?
Man flu, I don't know, but he wasn't feeling too well.
Okay, all right. So why don't you, we haven't seen, who wants to show some charts? And for the last 5 minutes, Ryan, you want to break out your black background charts? for us, and
Yeah,
we
can
can
do,
take a
mate.
look at
I
your,
can do.
what kind of lines you have, etc.
He's gonna do anything you want for the right price.
Yeah,
Okay.
you pay me £1 and I'll show you what we like, mate. Yeah.
Okay.
Give me 1
All
second.
right. Give me your wire number.
Right.
Oh, I
hang
have
on.
to stop sharing.
1 second. Yeah, and I'll take it off. Yeah. Oh, where are we going? Over here. That one there. Right, there we go. You see that all right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. So yeah, just look at dollar yen and what Kay and myself were talking about on the fib levels, the downside levels. We've got this fib here, 61.8, 128.90. That's of the March move up this year. Then under that, we're looking at a prior zone that we broke and found a resistance into 177s. Another big fib level, it's the 50 fib 127.27, down of the whole big move up from the 108s, that sort of area. No, even further than that, I think.
Boy, but
right.
because that
Yeah,
set
that
up a nice head and shoulders formation if it gets up there.
Oh, yeah,
Towards
take
140.
about, yeah, we'll look at that one in about August, I think. That should be just about ripe by then. But
yeah,
so there is plenty of downside levels to look at. Though, look at the way these fibs broke when we came down. If we're getting these big volatile moves, these levels are probably not going to set up for much. But I think if we get the Bank of Japan turning potentially more hawkish or turning hawkish at all, change of language into the end of this quarter or second quarter, and we get the Fed taking their foot off the gas more, there's a big chance we see some more of this downside, and we could get down to the 125s, maybe even lower, depending on the scale of it.
Yeah, the whole breakout started where around 116 is where it never looked back.
Yeah, we had various different
yellow
areas.
lines.
Yeah, well, we had this area down here, sort of, the 114s, 115s was a big, again, you're going back, 2014. I think it goes back even further. We were all looking at this and trading this at the time, and that was the big leg up. The next leg came in around the 120s. That was a big psychological break, and then we just started hitting the old historical levels on the way up. 125s, all these prior highs. Those were the areas to watch and see if we got the breaks. And as they say, the rest is history, and it kept going and going and going. So yeah, I think there is scope for that. So I'm still bearish, happy to be bearish on this pair and sell the rallies. I'm not in anything at the moment. But yeah, I think again, if you get a decent pop in here on the CPI report, this is one pair I'll be looking at to re-establish shorts if we get something juicy from that. 134, probably a bit of a stretch, or maybe not. Really, it depends on where we are. We're near 133 at the moment, but anywhere up sort of 137s, 138s is going to look pretty enticing as far as I'm concerned. And you're right about the downside. This is we've got to look at this low, but it happened, the first trading day of the year. So can you really assign much to it? What will be interesting is if we get, a move down there, does it hold again? Does 130 hold again? If that's the case, then it sets up for a bit of a short-term bottom at least. We get a bit of a confirmation down there on that one.
Let's see your Aussie chart and the lines that you have.
The Aussie chart. Oh, yeah, lots of colours on there. Lots of colours on there. So we keep, we were looking for this break, or I was looking for this break above this 70-80 area. We kept seeing the highs over the latter part of the year. Couldn't get up, 50, 70, 80.
Yeah.
Try. Had the break.
Yeah.
You may recall I was thinking about maybe trying to trade a break, but I didn't like having a buy stop around 69.20 because bit of away from the actual break point around his 80s. So, I didn't know if there was going to be much legs in it if we got above that. And there wasn't. 69.50 is the high. I didn't like this little bit of action yesterday where we came back fairly easily through this area. You know, I like my text nice and clean. You know, if we have a nice clean level like that, I want to see it respected on the way down. And it went through, you know, didn't quite get down to the next level, just a bit messy. And we've had another go today. We're pretty much trying to hold it this time around. So it keeps this momentum and this break in play, but you know, it seems to be waiting for another catalyst to take on these highs and shift up. And we could be waiting for that CPR report like every other pair and asset is. You know, if it's if CPI drops as expected or lower than expected, you know, we're probably going to see this rally up through the highs, and maybe we get a big look at the big 70 level. You know, and that's the next significant area. Always going to be psychological area, and then 71s we start again hitting some of these longer term fibs. You know, there's a bit of a confluence you can see up here, the sort of 70, 90, 71 area. You know, we've got 2 fibs up there from these moves. So big levels in play. These are the areas that we want to see broken on big data, and if they hold, it says the market's happy for now with its positioning. So
we'll be here tomorrow. Very important for people to be around tomorrow for the CPI. I know we say it every day. Today is critical. Today is critical. Well, you know, tomorrow is critical as well. So be here with us. And before I bring on Neil to talk about Bitcoin, which Ryan said is comatose unless we get back above 18, and what its thoughts are, want to remind everyone about our twice-a-year discounts, which this is, you know, our main one going into the year, and you have a great chance to lock in low prices, 40% discount on a 1-year subscription. Maybe Stella, you could post a link in chat so that people that I think what $119 a month for the 1 year compared to current prices of $189 a month.
Yeah,
So,
the equivalent is 113 per month for the annual and 132 for the semi.
Okay, there.
I will post the link right here.
Yeah,
it's
so you know, get in here. January is just starting. As you've noticed, what a difference in the last 6-12 months since Euro has bottomed, and we had that crisis low in cable. That currencies are really becoming fashionable again. Wasn't as much during a bull run in the dollar, but now we're getting, you know, really tactical trades, day trades all over the place, 2-3 day swings, and the chat room is really golden because you have guys that make money in the market that you can work with and rise to their level. Surround yourself with traders better than you. That's what I've done, and there's plenty of them involved in the community here. And the other way to go is the trader funding program, where you pass the assessment, or during the assessment, you also have the support of the community to help get you there. Okay, because we want you to pass it and want to support you in that part of your journey. So there you go. There's Blake with his hand on his chin. You want to show that again? Blake with his hand on his chin. Why? What's he thinking about? Huh. All right. Well, Blake's going to be making a video. He passed it recently. And yeah, turtle. Be ForexAnalytix turtles, just like Rich Dennis had the turtles. I prefer to think of our traders as eagles and seeing soar to new heights in their trading career. And that's going to be a wrap for this part of the program. And the team, thank you guys for sharing. You know, it's hard to, you know, really say anything with conviction in front of a very important number tomorrow, but definitely I got some clarity from talking to all of you like I do every day. Thank you, team.
Thank you, Dale.
I'll hand you back the screen, mate.
All right, thanks very much. And Neil Jacobs, welcome back to F.A.C.E, buddy, and Happy New Year to you. And Hope this is going to be a better year for people in the crypto space. How are you, Neil?
Good. Can you hear me? Happy New Year to you too.
Yeah, got it, Neil. So you're going to be sharing your screen today to be showing us anything?
Sure. I'll just
there
show
you are.
myself.
Okay. Oh, look at that background. So are these Bitcoins really gold, or why, are they trying to trick people into thinking that it's gold because gold's been outperforming?
I just found this image a long time ago, and I'm not trying to trick anybody. It's definitely not gold. It's way better than gold.
Okay, see, so here's a believer, and there are advantages, and the advantage is, I think one of them is the portability of your wealth. And
Yeah,
why don't you
absolutely.
show people? You have one in your hand. You have one in your hand. You could show people that
No.
you have it locked up in the
what's great about Bitcoin, you could actually have it in your mind. You could travel across borders with just 12 words in your head and bring value worth millions or billions of dollars. So not only does, like you said, Bitcoin has a better portability feature, but it's also more unconfiscatable than gold, right? And no one knows what's in your head.
Not mine. I've had psychiatrists try, but they failed. In fact, Neil, I was once diagnosed as a dyslexic, agnostic, insomniac because I would stay up all night wondering whether or not there was really a dog.
That's funny. I never heard that one.
It's an old one. Like everything I do, it's old. So anyway, tell us what your thoughts are going into the new year. We're getting a bit of a recovery in Bitcoin, and I don't think you and I have talked since the FTX scandal, fraud broke.
Yeah.
Why don't we address that too? Because just because of FTX and someone really committing atrocious acts against people that gave them trust, it doesn't affect what Bitcoin is. It just puts a stain on and injured people who trusted FTX, not the trust in Bitcoin.
Yeah, and the whole ethos of Bitcoin is don't trust, verify. And this didn't start with FTX. You know me, I think the entire crypto industry, I separate Bitcoin from crypto, and the entire crypto industry does a lot of unethical things. They mislead retail investors. This goes back years and years, kind of started this latest kind of drawdown in the Bitcoin price going back to November of 2021. Even though it was maybe we were overheated in the first place, you then had a lot of players in the market do some crazy things. There was that algorithmic stable coin with a character named Do Kwon that kind of caused the first drawdown. And you had a lot of other risky players in this industry tied to that. Then you had the FTX thing happen. So you had this cascading effect. On top of that, you had a lot of miners who got over leveraged. They apparently thought the Bitcoin price was going a lot higher. So instead of selling their Bitcoin maybe to pay for their operations, they were borrowing against their Bitcoin. And that doesn't work out when the price then reverses on you. So not only did you have all these scandals, but then you have forced sellers and miners, Bitcoin miners, who are already the lead sellers of Bitcoin because they mine it and they have to pay for their costs.
Okay, so what separates Neil is Neil won't even look or buy anything else but Bitcoin. What do you say to the people that are believers in Ethereum?
Bitcoin is supposed to move us away from a centrally controlled monetary system, fiat money. And things like Ethereum have kind of recreated that. So it's not for me. I don't know why you would want rulers, right? Bitcoin is rules without rulers, and Ethereum is rulers without rules. They're constantly changing the rules. They had this big shift. I think it was in September. They called it the merge, where they actually moved from a proof of work system more similar to Bitcoin to a proof of stake system, which is now more like the fiat system we have. So I don't really know why you would want to be part of that. I could see maybe some technologists find stuff about it interesting, but in terms of a monetary revolution, Bitcoin is really the only way to go, in my opinion, at this point in time.
Okay, and we have a attendee. Tony's asking, you talk about that gold could be confiscated. Why do you think, or do you think that the U.S. will, like China, ban Bitcoin?
Well, we saw how the U.S. tried to ban Bitcoin, or ban gold. Sorry, what was it? Executive Order 6102 under FDR.
Yeah.
Then sorry.
Yeah, they did it again in the 70s. It was illegal to own gold.
And did that really work out? I don't know how many people went to jail for holding gold. So, and we have such a U.S. centric mind. I live in the U.S. I'm assuming you live in the U.S.
Yes.
And this, what the U.S. government does is definitely important. They are the biggest battle for Bitcoin, but there's governments all over the world. So if for some reason the on-ramps to getting Bitcoin here, having possession of Bitcoin in the US became illegal, which I don't think they will, but if they did, it will create what people like to call a jurisdictional arbitrage, where people with Bitcoin will go to places that are more favorable to Bitcoiners and Bitcoin holders.
And that's El Salvador, right? I see Max Kaiser writing about, I guess he relocated down there, calls El Salvador Bitcoin maximalist country. It is their currency. Are you going to move down there and hang out with Max?
Max is quite the character. I do enjoy my life in the US. I don't want it to become illegal in the US. And like I said, I don't think this is a reality that's going to happen. I think that Bitcoin should be protected under the First Amendment of the Constitution. It's really just a database of code that people are expressing what they believe is value. You don't even have to use Bitcoin as a monetary network. You could use it to send messages. So I just think that it's going to be a slippery slope if they try to all-out ban Bitcoin in the United States.
If they do you think the CBDC is going to be the reason why? And I think that there's going to be more of a movement with a weaker dollar and the introduction of CBDC. People are going to say, well, if I have a digital coin that doesn't have any privacy, doesn't have any portability, like the experiment or the beta tests that the Fed is doing on that, I should own Bitcoin. Do you think that's going to be a major driver into the space?
Excuse me. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because no one ever talked about CBDCs before Bitcoin. And central bank digital currencies, it's kind of a misnomer in the first place, right? Digital currencies supposed to be cryptographically secured, public, decentralized networks. And this is just going to be centrally controlled. So, it's really a bad thing. Right now our dollar is digital, but at least there's still cash. Right. And why I believe in privacy. We shouldn't all be looked at as criminals. The government shouldn't have to know everything that I do. And someone wrote in the chat, why would any major sovereign give up their most powerful power? So I guess like the US has the world reserve currency. I think at some point they may not see another option. I think the incentives will force them to start acquiring Bitcoin, whether it becomes a reserve like gold and not necessarily for the US, legal tender in a country, their actual currency. I think we're going to see more and more of that. We're seeing countries all around the world have issues. I saw the other day in Lebanon, someone shooting at their bank like the outside of the bank, because they're not allowing them to withdraw their money. And I know, this is the US, not Lebanon. But where does this go? Ultimately, all fiat currencies trend towards zero. They get more and more worthless over time. So we'll see what happens.
I know you're not price sensitive, and you're long term. This is your this is your retirement and your legacy, Bitcoin, right? So
it is a passion for me, and I love to talk about it.
Do you have kids?
I don't.
Okay, someday if you do, I know a lot of people saying that this is my children's future, not just my future in Bitcoin. So, part of the problem also last year was people giving their Bitcoin so that they could earn a yield on it. And was it the miners that were borrowing? They were borrowing. So what about that? Has that disappeared too, where there was a yield on the investment on Bitcoin, where people were getting a yield and they're getting a piece of the yield off the Bitcoin? I really never understood it. Maybe
and exactly. And if you can't understand something, Dale, it probably means it's too good to be true. And what I would say is, what kind of yield does gold give off, right? Bitcoin
Zero.
doesn't have cash, these dividends, doesn't have cash flows coming in. And back in early 2021, I was telling people, they'd say, oh, what about BlockFi? What about Celsius? What about this? And I'd say, stay away from them. Bitcoin is super valuable long term, and for what, a few percentage points. And you have to ask yourself the question, where is the yield coming from? And if you don't know where the yield is coming from, you are the yield. You are someone else's yield. So I was
always taught, higher the yield, higher the risk.
And yeah, but you know what, if these lenders like these BlockFis and Celsius were giving, I don't know, 35% yield on Bitcoin, then maybe I would have said, if you want to take your chance on something like that, you can. And that would have maybe compensated for the risk people were taking. Apparently, it was even greater than that, because a lot of these lenders went bankrupt, right? Like I said, BlockFi, Celsius, FTX. We're seeing Digital Currency Group that was considered one of the more stronger, more quote unquote reliable players in the space, having issues. So it's
okay.
Like I said, Bitcoin's so valuable. Just appreciate its appreciation over time.
Okay, and what's your self-talk when you see a 70% decline in an asset you own? What do you say to yourself to maintain your faith?
Yeah, so and just to go off again, I'm reading the chat while you're talking. It's basically the same point you're saying, Dale. Someone said, like, how do I not
said it nicer?
Yeah, how do I not look at the price charts? How many things do we see collapse, eventually go to zero? So it's not that I don't pay attention to this. I kind of look at a Bitcoin as a early stage startup, out of Silicon Valley, right?
Okay.
There's ups and downs. You don't price that on a daily basis, right? You don't know what the value of a company is until it goes public. And I kind of seen, like, if you try to, value Uber in its first year or its second year before becoming public, it would be all over the place. It'd be haywire, right? A lot of companies don't have any income their first few years, right? So I kind of look at this as a startup. However, it's a multi-$100 billion asset. You have people all around the world building infrastructure around Bitcoin, so it has even a better moat, and there's a real use case for this all around the world. Okay. So that's why I don't get caught up in the price. I think people just don't understand this asset, right? There's that famous quote that markets in the short term are like a voting machine, but in the long term, they're a weighing or measuring machine, right? So I just think people don't understand this. And the price is always on the margins anyways. Like no one could buy my Bitcoin right now for $17,400. So whoever's selling it, good for them. That's not what I'm going to sell my Bitcoin at or anytime soon.
Strong. All right. So Neil, I know you have a couple of new projects that you started late last year. You have your own show and you're doing podcasts. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and how people could watch you, and if they have questions about how to buy Bitcoin. And you're the guy I'm going to go to when I buy my first Bitcoin. I'm planning to do it this year.
Awesome.
And you could walk me through it. So why don't you tell people what you're doing to educate the public about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do a lot of different things. I'm on Clubhouse, a social media app, every morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern. And basically we're in there, we talk about some Bitcoin news, and then we field questions from anyone. Right now, sometimes it's slower, sometimes there's more people, but you're always welcome to come in there. I also do 2 podcasts. One is a weekly Bitcoin show called the Inside Bitcoin Show. It's with Joe Carlasari. He's a lawyer in the Bitcoin space, really bright guy, also very intelligent with macro stuff. So that's more of a commentary show once a week. And then every morning I release something called the Bitcoin News Show, which is about a 2 to 3 minute reading of Bitcoin related news. So we touch on Bitcoin and we talk about all the craziness going on surrounding the space. And as you know, Dale,
perfect TikTok thing. Are you using TikTok?
I need to get on that. I'm kind of like a little aged out, but I'm in my mid 30s, so it's a little after me. But I know
you're young, man.
No, I know I'm young, but the people on this are far younger. But I need to start getting into that. And also, as you know, Dale, I have a Bitcoin only merch and apparel company called FOMO21.com.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a lot of fun with that. I basically get to put Bitcoin memes into real life by getting people to wear stuff on t-shirts. So it's a lot of fun for me.
Neil, I appreciate you, going out in public and taking the slings and arrows and calmly. I've never seen you get upset about any question, about, that, people that are anti-Bitcoin and think you have to be, kind of foolish to think that there's any value in it. And you build a nice
Dale,
case.
when people are coming from a genuine, sincere, space and asking questions, I'm totally fine with that. I could definitely get a little combative on Twitter sometimes. I try to only punch up when it's well-known people who should, in my opinion, know better or do more work before giving an opinion. Then sometimes I will be a little harsh. I'm not an angel, but when it comes to your everyday person and they're just, they hear questions or they hear narratives on mainstream financial press, I understand why they believe that. And it took me, my journey into Bitcoin to where I kind of had a really good understanding took about 7 years. So for me to just assume everyone's going to get it right away is foolish.
Yeah. So, I have an expression, keep an open mind. It will keep your account open.
I like that.
Okay. So
I like that a lot.
I have an open mind and I enjoy talking to you, and I am the closest to conversion I've ever been in my career to Bitcoin.
That's awesome. So I'm happy to hear that.
I'm ready to be baptized into a wallet.
And that's what I see what's different about like this bear market as opposed to prior ones. I think people in the mainstream know Bitcoin is here to stay. They don't know about all the crypto stuff, but Bitcoin, there's been 500 times people have declared Bitcoin dead, probably more, but there's a website called bitcoinisdead.com, I think, or if you just Google Bitcoin is dead, and it shows articles going back to 2010, I believe. Bitcoin was at $12, it's dead. It's at 100, it's dead. It's 20,000 dead. It's always dead, but it never dies. So maybe if you have this, Bitcoin's going to zero, it's a Ponzi scheme, it's a pyramid scheme, all these buzzwords, maybe just look into it a little more, see what other people are seeing that you're not seeing. Try to have an open mind, as you said, Dale.
There's a title for an article for you to write. Bitcoin is not dead. It is Lazarus.
Interesting. I'll have to think about that
I
one.
got a smile out of you. Neil, thanks a lot for being here. Your Twitter handle again, at Neil Jacobs?
Just at Neil Jacobs, NEILJACOBS. You could follow me there. That's where I'm most active, and I link to other stuff from there a lot. And I appreciate you, and the people in your chat have been so gracious also. I really enjoy coming on, and I hope to be on again.
I think there's going to be a very important time for this asset.
Yeah, it's going to be nice one day, Dale, when Bitcoin again is in a bull market, and I could come on then, and we'll laugh about
All right.
Bitcoin is going to 0 times.
Okay. Thank you, Neil, so much. I
right.
root for you, and keep up your great work. You are an excellent ambassador for the asset.
Thank you very
Neil
much.
Jacobs, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Take it easy. And everyone, you could join the team in 20 minutes on the Morning Edge. We're all hoping Blake feels better. What a season. Flu, everything this year. Now COVID's rearing its head again. And thank you. Hope that you got something out of the show. Join us tomorrow for the big number. And above all, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. See everyone tomorrow. You're very welcome, Laura, Sinatra, all you guys, Steve Volge, love you.